first of all, let me tell you something. Lamont is just full of shit.
Sometimes my mama said, when you don't have nothing nice to say, you should be quiet.
Mr. Michael Steele.
Torre, how are you, my friend? People say that Stephen A. is a coon. You agree with that? Everybody got quiet on that one, okay? Go ahead. Nikki Gilbert is with us. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is Three Black Guys with a Mic.
What's up? Give me a second.
Are you walking through the hallway in your underwear?
Yes, I am.
Are these boxers or are these tighty whities?
I'm all tighty whities these days.
What are you like suppressing? What did it I thought it was something where he's like you suppressing your balls. What was that movie? What was it? A movie was like Boomerang. Wasn't it Boomerang where he was like where he was talking about David Alan Grier's underwear and his sperm count? Are you trying to preserve your sperm count?
That's fun.
Shouldn't it be like a Three Black Guys Day or a Black Men Day?
I mean, why not?
Why not?
Why not? That's what I'm saying. It's like if Abraham Lincoln could be celebrated without talking about his slaves, why not?
Abraham Lincoln had slaves?
What?
I didn't know he owned slaves.
What?
I didn't know that. I knew George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson. I didn't know that.
Come on, man. Come on, my guy. Yes.
I didn't know that. You taught me something today.
I don't know. Hold on. Abraham Lincoln owned slaves?
I don't think
he has
so.
some slaves. No, I think Abe has some slaves. Give me 1 second.
So.
Okay,
Get on your Google machine.
Yeah, and I'm not a journalist, but I want to say that I read that. Hold on.
You do play one on this podcast, though.
What you mean?
A journalist.
No,
you missed the joke. You missed the joke.
Oh, my
I'm
fault.
not a doctor, but I do play one on TV.
Oh, okay, my fault. I think Abe has some slaves too, Playboy.
The grandmother's now the grandmama's now. Do they hum in the kitchen? Do the 30-year-old grandmamas hum in the kitchen? And what do we call the new big mamas? Are the new big mamas called new big mamas or?
Well, they're not really big mamas because they had Teresa's. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, what's that? Teresa? What's that drink of Teresa's? The purple drink.
I don't know. I just get to I don't waver, but hold on. Purple drink?
Yeah, I think it's like a purple passion or something like that at Teresa's. Somebody I ain't been to Teresa's in decades.
Yeah, Teresa's is something special. Hold on, man.
Yeah. Why can't it's just because they Teresa's they can't still be big mamas?
I mean, I just want to know, do big mamas now, or do we even call them big mamas? If you're a grandmother, you're 36 years old, are you considered to be a big mama?
Not until you host a holiday. You can't be a big mama unless you host a holiday. My mom is 74 years old. She really don't host holidays for beyond just me and my sister. She's not a big mama.
Well, you got some 36-year-olds there out here that are hosting holidays.
If she hosts a holiday, then she the big mama.
Is that right? Is that how we define the big mama? By hosting the holidays? I thought big mama was the one who had the old dress, the nightgown with the what's the thing that we used to put in the back of the bathroom door?
The water bottle.
The water joint. I thought if you didn't have one of them, you couldn't be no big mama.
Yo, you don't want to know about that water bottle, son. You don't want to know about that water bottle.
I'm just saying.
Don't want to know about that water bottle.
If you didn't have one of those in the back of your bathroom door, then you wasn't considered no big mama. I just want to know what the big mamas do these days, or if they consider big mamas or not.
A part of big mama status remember Big Mama always had the couch with the plastic, right? That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Big Mama, another part of Big Mama status. My grandmother
I thought it was your mom did that. My grandmother didn't do that. Now my mom had some plastic, but
no, my mom ain't had no plastic. Another thing was Big Mama had the toilet paper and with the little dress over the toilet paper and the baby and the doll baby that came out of the toilet paper. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's Big Mama status right there. That's Big Mama status.
Yeah. So I know they hosting holidays with the famous, and Lamont, you can, attest to this. This is a famous east side of Detroit dish. If you from, and I don't even say if it's just the east side, but I'm just going to say the east side. No disrespect to the east side because I love east side. But if you make spaghetti with meatballs, salad, chicken wings, that's the east side holiday dish right there. Am I wrong, Lamont?
I was about to say that's a Detroit dish. I don't know about the east side.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
I didn't want to put it on the west side. I don't know if I ever knew anybody on the west side who was putting together.
I don't know if that's Detroit. I mean, I know a lot of folks that'd be like, I went to people's homes on Thanksgiving and they'd be like, "Oh, we serving spaghetti, lasagna, and chicken."
This is when I first moved to Detroit. I was like, "Wait, y'all got spaghetti and meatballs and chitlins and all these different side dishes? Like, this don't go on Thanksgiving?"
My mom want ribs for every holiday.
Ribs? I was like, this thing. No.
My mom would be like, "Yo, we always have turkey. Can't we have ribs?" I'm like, "Mom, it's December. I don't want ribs at Christmas. Why can't we have ribs? I want my ribs on the grill." Me too. Oh, so I'm supposed to be out in the snow. Mind you, I grew up in it wasn't Detroit snow, but that tri-state snow was a serious beast. On Christmas, go ahead, get them ribs on the grill, boy. No, we're not doing that, Mom.
Did Abraham Lincoln have slaves, Lamont?
I was about to say my apologies. The 16th president of the United States of America never owned slaves.
Okay, I didn't think so.
But
I was going to say it would be a little contradictory for him to try to free them and own them at the same time.
Yeah. But
y'all going to get rid of y'all slaves. But me and my slaves over here,
right?
we going to keep the party going.
Right. We rocking out over here. Now, everybody else, y'all can go and do what y'all want to do. But over here, we staying put over in these parts. But
there's no but.
And and this is according to the History Channel.
Wikipedia.
No, the History Channel. He said that Lincoln did not believe that slave was morally wrong. So although he didn't own slaves, he was still cool with the slavery deal. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that all of them felt like, slavery wasn't morally wrong.
Right. And he also didn't believe blacks should have the same rights as whites.
So let me go back. I'm listening to this, and this is on this podcast. It's a radio show, This American Life. And this was episode, I think, 479 of This American Life. So it's actually a couple of years old, but they replayed it this weekend. And they were talking about the Civil War at the time. But in Minnesota, they were fighting the Indians. Mm-hmm. The Minnesotans were fighting the Indians. So it wasn't the Civil War. It wasn't the Civil War. I'm sorry, what war? I don't know what war it was. But anyhow, they were talking about this letter that Thomas Jefferson basically wrote. And he was saying about the Indians, like, look, we're going to take that land. We want that land. But the Indians ain't going to give it to us. And we don't want to just kill all the Indians all the time. But we will if we have to.
I.e. Thanksgiving?
Right. But what we're going to do is this. We're going to go ahead and lend the Indians money, because what we learned about them is that they don't like being in debt. So we're going to lend them money. We're going to give them, this is what they said, we're going to give them Christianity, we're going to lend them money, and we're going to tell them to stop hunting, because hunting was what was making them use so much land, because the Indians were just following the deer. If the deer ran 400 miles, and they just chased the deer 400 miles or whatever the case may be. And we're going to teach them how to farm better. Make them farmers, grow their own livestock locally. There you go. And when they can't pay their bills, then we're going to be like, yo, you can't pay your bill. You got to get up off this land. So the land that they had owned 400 years before white men showed up, or they didn't even own, they didn't care about ownership.
Right.
White man is just like, yo, if you want to keep, you owe us money. Oh, you don't like being in debt? Well, I'll forgive your debt if you just go ahead and give us that land real quick. The trickery is serious.
Well, yeah, that's the white man's way, though, ain't it?
Yeah. Shell, the oil companies have done the same thing.
I mean, the white man has done that since the beginning of time. Let me, it goes back to what you say all the time. You know what? Yeah, that's cool, but we're going to take that. You're going to run that. you gonna run that land.
Lamont, what would they say if this was Detroit and you had something that somebody wanted?
You just call Dan Gilbert, he gonna take it?
No. Well, yeah, but I'm saying there is a 3-word saying, check it in.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, you gonna check that in. Yeah, I mean,
check them in, homie. That land, check it in. That means you just got robbed. Is that? I mean, in the local Detroit vernacular of the urban community, does check it in mean that you're getting robbed, sir?
So for everybody who listens to us, thank you so very much in Brazil and in Russia and in all of the places that are not in the United States. Check it in from the metro area of Detroit means whatever it is that you have that I want, you gonna give it to me.
That means you got robbed.
That means you about to get robbed.
Or you either are being robbed or in the process of being robbed, or you are either avoiding or about to run into getting your ass whipped for some product.
Can you be mad at the white man though? How long do you? Go ahead, Lamar.
I'm not mad at him because here's what I'm wondering.
Did you like knock the microphone over or something?
Yeah, I'm like,
did you knock the mic over? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm mad at him because I think it's South Africa. Isn't it where the government is like telling the white farmers or something about taking back the land or something like that? So I mean, it's almost like he's doing what he's supposed to do. I mean, you're supposed to bully people and rape and rob and pillage. And I mean, isn't that just the history of the world?
No.
Hold on. Lamont is right in one respect. And I'm going to say something that's going to probably get me kicked off the show and out of polite society.
Well, now, I think that there's probably about 150 other things that you've already said and you haven't been kicked off the show yet. So I'm sure this one will be okay.
Lamont, you right in some ways. That's been the way of the world. But ask yourself this, right? You can think about everywhere where Africans exist, and for the most part, it's just Africa, right? And that's, blacks or people from the land of Africa have been all over the world trading or being traded, whether we were going there willingly or going there as slaves. But you know what? Africans looked at the continent of Africa and said, we will settle this world that is Africa. And that's what they did. You can look at everywhere where the Muslim world exists. And for the most part, it's still just Turkey, Jordan, Libya, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, etc. That's the, Morocco, Turkey, right? That's the Muslim world. That's the Arab world, as we call it, the Arabian Peninsula. Chinese people, by and large, they just kind of hey, we over here in China. People from India, they kind of just did their thing, and we're going to be here in India. White men, they've been everywhere. And everywhere they go, they be like, oh, we taking that.
I mean,
you ask yourself this. We go to this place and get gas on a regular basis called British or BP Amoco, British Petroleum Amoco, right? There is no oil in Britain. Royal Dutch Shell of the Netherlands. There's no oil there. They out here, De Beers, the diamond company, started off in the Netherlands or Switzerland or someplace like that. Now it's owned by English. There are no diamonds there. Where they get those diamonds from?
Chicago?
No. They went to Africa and they've been taking the diamond. Africa has all the resources and none of the value. They got all the gold, all the silver, all the diamonds, all the oil,
all the pig feet, all the hog maws.
and then you look at the lines that are the different nations of Africa. Africans didn't draw them lines. Eritrea, Ethiopia, Niger, Nigeria. Africans didn't draw those lines. That was the colonization that white people had came down to Africa and to Kenya, etc.
So wait. So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a public school, so just please forgive me. Is it Niger? Is it Niger? Or is it nigger? Nigger. I mean, which one is it? Because it sounds like, the more affluent African Americans want to use the word Niger, and I see no J, I see no accent, I see none of that.
Well,
let me ask you this question: is it nice or is it niche?
Well, when I'm in the south of France, it's Nice. Now, when I'm in Detroit or Chicago or Atlanta or Detroit, is nice. But when I'm in France, and that's what I'm saying, is like, where did the French sounding come in off of the continent of Africa?
I'm so glad you asked that.
Oh, boom, boom, psh, go.
So again, like I said, the lines that make up Africa were never drawn by Africans. Eritrea was conquered by Italy. Ethiopia as well. Kenya by the English. Algeria, Niger, Nigeria, the French. Those are the people who basically ruled those countries. And they put those names on those people.
So
that's where it comes from.
It's the white man's fault?
That we don't know how to pronounce it? Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
So, but if you look at Lebanon, all that stuff, Iraq, Iran, they, Niger, there's a lot of people in Niger that speak French, because of its relation to France, because France conquered it. So there was something called the Great Colonization, where all of Europe was like, they were in a race to chop Africa up and take parts of Africa for themselves. And that's basically what happened.
Okay. Well, welcome to episode 100, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to Three Black Guys with the Mic. We have made it 100 episodes. This is episode number 100. I cannot believe that we are still here.
It's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe that we are still here after 100 episodes. So, Maynard, let me start with you. How do you feel after 100 episodes? What's your favorite episode? What's your worst episode? Tell me your thoughts on Three Black Guys with the Mic in the last 100 episodes.
Well, because the two of you guys passed on it and made me the CEO.
Oh,
I'm gonna speak for the organization. So let me get my press and public relations voice together. Well, speaking on behalf of the organization, I think that these guys who make up Three Black Guys with the Mic are doing a phenomenal job, and I just want to see a lot more. We take each week as it comes. We don't look past any week. We think to ourselves, what do we have to do this week to be better than next week? And we want to keep doing that. And so as we enter the week that is 100, we just want to just go out here and kick ass and take names.
Okay. Lamont?
What's my favorite? Is that where I was going?
I'm not sure.
It doesn't matter. I totally just flaked on the whole conversation.
Sure.
No, I mean, I think what we've done thus far, at 100, it is breaking down a stereotype that, first and foremost, that black men, that we don't get along, that we don't communicate with one another, and just that we are less than. And I think just, by us getting together weekly and doing this and just kind of expressing ourselves, giving our different opinions and views on various topics, whether it's, grandmothers who twerk, which I think is still something that's very important that we need to talk about more and more.
Twerking grandmothers? Why do we have to talk about that more?
I mean, because, again, in order to be, we were talking earlier about big mama status. In order for you to be a big mama or a grandma, you got to do some sort of twerking. You know what I'm saying? Twerking on some way, shape, form, or fashion creates life. You know what I mean? So,
I don't. Does twerking actually? Does it lead to creating life, or does it create life?
Well, it all depends. It depends on what kind of twerking we go. You know what I mean? Because some people may say that the actual
you making it sound like lap dancing is more probably the appropriate word.
I mean, well, no, lap dancing and twerking could be the same thing if you want to break it down. Maynard was so eloquent when he broke down last podcast about some things that I have a hard line on. And that would be, strip club, food items, which is true. Although I don't, attend strip clubs as I used to, but, that it is important. So it's a part of the circle of life. So whether it's a jalapeno popper or a lamb chop with a zip sauce or a barbecue wing that's on the menu at your local, strip club / twerking establishment, it's important to the ecosystem of what we have. So I think just breaking down stuff like that is what makes, this whole podcast thing pretty cool. And again, for me, it's always about, breaking down those stereotypes, breaking those walls down of how, again, sometimes the traditional media, only thing we see when it comes to black men is always the bad. And we never, are able to, I should say never, that's not a good term. Most of the time we don't highlight the good. And I think what we've tried to do is, give some highlight to a little diversity that we have. We all don't have the same opinion about things, but, that's good. That's okay. That helps the world, be a better place. So I know I was supposed to go with the short answer, but, I get this all the time on people who say very good things about what we do. We may not be the biggest, but we definitely are one of the best. And I think with the talent that we have, wow, this is coming out pretty good. This is off the top of the dome, too. Yeah, I should have.
I
I'm wondering if we should change the CEO status here.
I take the crown off.
Yeah. This is turning out pretty good because I have mucked some stuff up. But again, I've had a lot of people that I didn't really think would be as into our podcast and who do pay attention. They're, again, as we've said before, we have people, that are on the other side of the world that pay attention to what these three black guys have to say. And it actually is amazing, on, what this has turned into. So I think, as we move forward and we press forward, we just, want to continue to grow and just, be bigger and better and be a little bit more diverse in the conversation and not just be about twerking, strippers, Jesus, and Donald Trump. Just kind of add more energy and
what else would you like to add to
conversation.
that conversation, Lamont?
You really want to know what I want to talk about?
I would love to hear. What else other than that do we have to talk about?
And this is not anywhere on our show notes or whatever, but
the last 24 minutes have not been on our show notes, so that's okay.
I want to talk about the difference between sneezing and passing gas.
What?
What? Sneezing and passing gas. And we don't have to do it now.
No, because now you've piqued the interest of what the hell is the difference and why. Out of everything that's going on in the world. Here comes the derailing
of the show. Right. Now the show is derailed.
We can keep this short. We can keep this short. And I read this somewhere, and it actually was very interesting. So you say, Lamar, where do you read these things? It's funny because it was in the LA Times. So I'm a
subscription.
Yeah, but it's all online. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer in that you should read. And I think I heard this from Minister Farrakhan, or no, take that back. I think it was Dick Gregory, the late great Dick Gregory. He talked about how you should always try to read newspapers from coast to coast. So I start in L.A. I always try to read the Chicago Sun-Times. I always go to Detroit. Then you got to read the New York Times, you know what I'm saying, and the Post, which is a rag, and you got to read the Miami Herald. But that's me. And sometimes I let it the Constitution. But in the LA Times, there was a story about sneezing versus passing gas. Why is it that when you sneeze, which is a involuntary bodily function that actually spews out mucus, right? So if you take a sneeze and do it in slow motion, you see all that spray, or what some people might call it spit or whatever.
Snot.
But it's actually snot, but it's actually mucus, right? And when you do that, it's an involuntary bodily function that is caused by several different things. But once you do it, people always say, bless you. Okay, cool. Let's take the latter part, the passing gas, which is also an involuntary bodily function, which is actually very natural. If you speak to any medical doctor, they'll tell you that you should pass gas. I think the number is supposed to be between 8 to 15 or 20 times per day, because it's releasing body gases that are in your body that if Maynard had so much body gases in his body and it just built up, he would explode. And you can go to any medical professional, they'll tell you the same thing. So when Maynard is passing gas somewhere and he's around the wrong group of people, why is it that they shun him, that they look at him that he's a bad thing? But if Maynard was to sneeze, they hit him off with a bless you. It's just something that is just so stupid to me when it's actually the same thing. So, on the 100th episode, before we start talking about the late podcast and all of the wonderful things in the world and celebrating our podcast, why is sneezing accepted? Farting is not.
I'm letting you take that one. I ain't even into that. I don't even have an answer for that one, man. I'm letting you take that one.
I need some answers. Why?
Sneezing doesn't stink though, Lamont. So I would think that
it's you, but you're if Spud, if you sneeze at me, you are secreting mucus.
I'm right. That's you. Hold on, Lamont. Let me say this real quick. You're not wrong.
Yeah, I know
you're wrong. First of all, why you got to talk about me passing gas?
Well, why
couldn't this been about you?
No. And the reality is, I said again, it's a natural body function. If you don't pass gas, you will die.
But why you had to bring me into this?
I do because we don't want you to die, so we're hoping that you pass gas. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, we can hope that you pass. Well, you know what? Never mind.
No.
We're good.
Got that. I got that down. The second part, I got that. Sneezing, maybe not as much. You know, if there's dust or dander or some other thing that may be going on.
What you're saying is, on passing gas, you're good.
Got that. Yes. Okay. My doctor tell you I'm good.
Regular.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Are you +8 or you?
Well, get my wife on the line. I'm +10. I'm good.
You +10?
Yeah, in my sleep as well. Yes, sir.
Do you excuse yourself from the room when you pass gas?
That you say that because it always depends on where you.
Oh my God! Now we're going deeper.
Yo, Lamont has not only, as most people call it, a fart science. He has a fart etiquette about it, and I mean, it's the fart protocols.
Right, because you got to ask yourself, okay, is this
allow one?
Just volume? Is this, is it aroma? Where we go? Oh my
God! Okay.
That determines how. You know what I'm saying? It depends on who's in the room. Unfortunately,
but here's now I got a question now. So which one? I guess in your expertise of passing gas, which one's more healthy for your body? The one that creates some sort of noise, or the one that has the worst aroma? Or which one is which one's best for your body?
That we're actually talking about.
Me neither. But now I'm curious because
this is just
because now I got to know, because when I pass gas in front of my wife, today, which will be several times. I'm on the plus 10, train as well. And she says, ew. I'm going to say Lamont said that this is a healthy form of my life and that I should be doing this, and I should be doing this in front of you on a regular basis. But when she shames me, like people would shame Maynard, when she shames me, I want to be able to know, hey, this one that I just did, the one that I let out, the one that
saved my life.
This one just saved my life. The one that smells the worst, this one is something that's helping my heart or helping my stomach. So which one works best when I let it go, Lamont?
Well, again, I think it could be different for each individual, but for me, I think it's just the natural relaxing method of releasing the gases. So
because
if that includes volume,
my grandmother used to say the silent ones, you got the silent boys, and then you got the little small ones, which my grandmother would call a spleen. You let a little spleen out, and then you got the passing gas, and then you got the farting. So which one's the most healthiest? The silent ones or the loud ones?
I think I'm going to just go with the loud ones because it feels like you're not suppressing anything.
That's probably where you get the most pressure out of your stuff.
Yes.
That's when you're letting the most gas out. All right.
Yes.
Woo!
So we're good on that. I'm done. So now we can be very serious and meaningful and emotional. But I just think that, again, we should not shun people, or we should bless people when they pass gas just as when they sneeze.
You know what? I was wrong. Right now, I do want to quit. I quit. I give up on this. I quit.
So the next time that you're in the room with somebody and you let one go, you let them know.
Bless you.
You know.
You said bless you.
Say, excuse you. You know, we understand now why you have to let them go.
No. You don't say excuse you. You say bless you.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
Bless
because
you
when you
for
say
letting
excuse
that gas out.
You're making it like it's a bad thing.
Don't say bless you. Say thank God. You say thank God because then you'll say, oh my goodness, I'm glad you farted. You almost died.
Right. You could have been suppressing all that air.
You could have died if you had not let that out. You almost died.
Woo! All right. Let's get to our email of the week from Demikia Surgeon. Sorry if I said that wrong. Is it Demikia?
I don't know.
Okay. Demikia Surgeon, thank you so very much for writing in to sir@3blackguyswiththemic.com. We love to read your emails on the show. So if you have a comment or a question for either one of us, we would love to address it. You also can go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/3blackguyswiththemic, instant messenger us, or either you can leave a comment on one of our posts. She says, hi, guys. My husband and I listen to you often and really enjoy your show and how you share your opinions. My husband is not a romantic person. He can be, but it's not at the top of his list to do. He claims it's normal. Clearly, I am an affectionate woman and I need that in our marriage. I'm not speaking of sexual encounters. How do you guys feel about black men being romantic and affectionate? Lamont, let me start with you. You have been married the longest on this show. So how do you feel about black men being romantic and affectionate?
1 second, because this bus is coming by. And I want to make sure I'm not under it. This is what you call being blindsided. What? And my wife is probably turning up the volume on the podcast. So let me make sure that I do this correctly.
She has pulled the car over and has officially has her undivided attention on.
Exactly. So let me just say this. So now this is from the lady's perspective, speaking to the husband, right?
Correct.
And, just as a disclaimer, I am no guru of marriage,
You're not a guru of love, sir.
Of love, of relationships, and my granddad always told me is that life and marriage are two things that do not come with a handbook. So some things are just trial in this era. And what I found out is that no matter how long you've been married or even when you're dating a woman, just always remember she's a girl. And when I say that, I mean, it's very simplistic, is that women today are, especially, I should say especially black women, but just women in general, they're very strong. They are sometimes CEOs of companies. They run big households. They have families. They do all of these wonderful things. But when they come in the house and they close the door, they're still a girl. And when I say they're a girl, is that you have to treat them as such, i.e., I think there's a difference between, and when you're a girl, it doesn't mean that you're young. So it's not about being whatever, inappropriate, but a girl in terms of, you have to date girls. You have to wine and dine girls. You have to do that to women too. And again, we're in such a PC world, so we want to make sure that we include everybody in the conversation. But for me, I use the term girl because, it's just some of those extra special things that you have to do. Sometimes I always use the George Jefferson or James Evan method of sometimes you got to hit him on the butt. You know what I'm saying? Just walk by him and just hit him on the buttons like, ooh, you got a fatty, or just.
This is exactly what your grandfather used to say to your grandmother back in the day that got her twerking and stuff.
Sometimes you got to tell her, ooh, you got a fatty, or, why don't you meet me upstairs real quick? I got to show you something more. Sometimes you got to take them to dinner.
Hide the wanker.
Your Spud, Lamont's approach to romance is a pull my finger.
Look what's upstairs, baby. Let me show you what's up in this closet.
I think there's an elephant in my pants. Come on, take a look.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, but again,
I'm going to be a dirty old man.
It's just applicable with the girl or the lady that you have. So I think sometimes we get caught up in the wife thing, or we've been together this long, but sometimes you got to treat it like it's new. It's like that car. Sometimes you just got to rub on it. You know what I'm saying? You got to buff it a little bit. You got to get that shine going. And, only thing I can say to the brother is, sometimes you might have to put a wig or something on, or a different dress.
Is that what you're doing? Is that what you're doing? We found it. We found it, Maynard. We found it. Oh,
Lamont is out here wearing lace fronts to bed.
You are out here with the on the road playing.
No, I didn't say that. I said
wait. Sometimes you said sometimes you got to put a wig on.
Lamont,
that's role playing.
Stop.
Or
Lamont,
is that cross dressing?
You can only dig yourself deeper, Lamont. Just stop.
No, I'm just saying. Okay, let me you got to keep it fresh, my dude. You know what I'm saying?
And so wigs sometimes play a part in that.
I mean, if some people now in my house we don't play wigs, we don't do extensions, weaves. We are al natural. Now
what have you found to be the best source of role playing for your marriage, Lamont?
Role playing? What do you mean? I'm
Lamont.
Come on, Lamont. Come on. You come on.
You said you were trying to avoid that bus. I'm telling you, a number 9 is on his way to your ass. Just stop.
He said a number 9 is on the way. All right, I'll leave that alone. I forgot. I'm not sure.
There you go.
Okay. Got to keep it fresh. That's what it is. We got to keep it fresh.
I'm down with that. That's it.
All right. Maynard?
For Demikia and her husband, or Demikia and her husband, y'all got to have that conversation. Y'all got to keep the conversation up. And I got a friend who's upset with her husband right now, and she's all mad about this and that and the other. And at the end of the day, she has some valid points, but your husband goes out to work. He comes home. He's not with other women. He's with you. He don't gamble the money away. He ain't out here tricking dollars off. In some respects, we can't have it all. Sometimes you got to say, well, I'm prepared to accept certain things, and sometimes people can't be who they can't be who you want them to be. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, he can find that he can understand that he gotta please his wife in ways other than sex. Like, she needs some flowers occasionally, or like Lamont said, she needs to be spoken to in a fashion that makes her feel, teenagey, giddy, and that. This for me. When it comes to love, I love that desperate teenage, breathless kind of love. I'm all for it. I like romance. I'm with all that.
So you out here on the flower hit every time? Candies and flowers?
Hell no. I got time.
wait.
She costs too much money, man.
Oh, okay. So you're not on the romantic hit.
I'm romantic. I mean, I'm gonna make you a mixtape.
Not a mixtape. What's on that playlist is what I want to know. When I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall.
Well, it's definitely not. You remind me of my G.
Here we go talking about Robert again. Here we go.
Hey, Robert got some of the best. Robert got some of the best get you in the mood joints though.
Okay, or make you want to wash your car. But anyhow, now I think that sometimes you gotta compliment your lady. You gotta, every once in a while figure out how to, take her out to dinner for no reason. People don't understand that some of the simplest things can be really, be important to their mate. Call your mate up at 2 in the afternoon. Hey, what's up? What you doing? I'm working. I took out some chicken for dinner, girl. When you get home, put that chicken away and put on the dress. We going out. It might be that simple. So, and then she might say, well, we going out, but he didn't get me no roses or whatever. But he met me halfway. He went to this point, and I need to meet him where he is on that, and then accept it. He might never, recite poetry or, serenade you under the stars or nothing. That might not be who he is, but he may very well be able to say, I took you somewhere. Go here, girl. Supersize that and get you some jalapeno poppers.
Not supersize it. you can get the large this time. You can get the large this time. It's
Go
okay.
ahead, girl. Get that large.
Go ahead, get that large. You can get that large.
This week, eating and the refills are free.
I know.
Okay?
All this week we've been eating jalapeno poppers. This week, baby, we going to Red Lobster. We going to Olive Garden.
Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Cheddar baked biscuits.
So let me ask y'all a question, and it's funny that you say that. So if your wife is accustomed to
No, that ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work.
what? I'm saying, like, are you supposed to try to upgrade your spouse or girlfriend, or like if that's all they rocking with is Red Lobster, which is nothing wrong with Red Lobster, you know what I mean? But it's like, do you take them to, I don't know, a nice seafood restaurant that flies the tuna in from San Francisco every morning? That's like $46 a pound. Like,
that's dangerous, right there, my dude. That's danger. That's
okay,
dangerous.
so
maybe if it's the wife, but if it's your girlfriend,
so you just got to meet them where they are. And the reason why I asked that is because when Maynard said supersize them, I mean, for some people that might be the play.
That might be the play in some people's lives.
Yeah. Now, honey, we know. Wait, I'm gotta get this out the way, but now, honey, we know that's not you. We know you don't play that. We know we have to make reservations at El Molino's or RPM. I got you. Matter of fact, we don't really even do the fast food thing. But again, and I was just asking that because we were just having that conversation of a dude trying to date somebody and he's trying to expose her to something different. And I'm like, yo, my dude, Olive Garden is okay. You know what I'm saying? It's not bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but sometimes you don't want to try to. You're gonna hurt yourself out here trying to upgrade some folks, especially in the dating space.
But what if you marry them and they're in, okay, because like take this question that we were asked. If when he married her in the beginning, and what if, probably not, he only did a certain kind of thing with his wife, after several years, should he change or should he do what he did to get her?
People hear that all the time. I don't think that's possible.
What, changing?
No, I don't think it's possible to keep up certain pieces. You want to be able to say, yeah, but when you dating, you go somewhere, even if it's Red Lobster, you take a woman out on a date and y'all just go on to Red Lobster, you're going to be like, well, we're going to go ahead and get this bottle of wine and we're going to do this. But when you get married and y'all got kids and bills.
Life gets in the way.
Well, not just that. A bottle of wine is like a pair of shoes for your 9-year-old. Or it might be, depending on if you're going over there to like the shoe carnival, it might be 2 pairs of shoes.
Lamont,
so that means when you
would you like to respond to the shoes that you buy? Is it what wine equates to the shoes that you buy?
Now, it's funny that you say that as well, because it all depends on the restaurant. Because trust and believe, and actually when you go out eating, alcohol and wine are the two biggest forms of robbery at fine dining restaurants. So take, for example, my wife likes I think it's a Josh. And there are different levels of Josh Cabernets, right? So you can go to Total Wine or Benny's or whatever local liquor store and probably get the bottle for maybe $24. But you go to a restaurant, they'll charge you like $95 for the same bottle of wine. So, Maynard, I'm hearing you when you say that $95 just for wine, and technically a good bottle of wine, you're going to go get for a good glasses, baby. You feel what I'm saying? And I don't know where y'all trying to go, but 4 glasses between 2 people, that ain't going to cut it for me.
So let me ask this. So let me go back, and I want to kind of dissect it a little bit, and then we'll move on. She says he can be a romantic person, but he claims it's normal that he's not romantic. So not being romantic, do you think that that's normal?
I think it's normal for him.
Clearly, I'm an affectionate woman, and I need that in our marriage. I'm not talking about sexual encounters. Here's my thing, and hopefully my wife doesn't murder me off of, because sometimes I say more than what I should. But I've been married now 6 years. I'm a romantic person in the way I know how to be. And so, D'Amica, I say this, hopefully I'm articulating it, that you understand that my wife can't get me to be romantic in her way. Doesn't matter how much she tries, doesn't matter how much she complains, doesn't matter how much she begs or wants or whatever. I have to do it the way I know how to do it, and she's learning to appreciate that better, because I'm just one of those ignorant people that just have to, I have to do it my way. And so when I say that, I would say, you gotta give him some space on being able to be romantic in the way he knows how to be. Because what I have found, and this is just my experience, is that it only creates more distance for me when I'm getting pressured to do something I don't know how to do, or I don't believe is in my philosophy. Like one time me and my wife had to literally have a come to Jesus meeting, because my wife is affectionate, and I had to express to her the way that it makes me feel. Like I'm like, yo, hey, back up. Like that's, smothering me, and she had to really understand that. And I had to also understand, going to your husband, I had to understand also that these things that my wife are asking me for are as extreme. They're important. And I have to put my pride aside, my ego aside, my philosophy aside, and actually most of the time come and be like, okay, cool. Like last night we went, my wife has been asking to go downtown and, walk around and, look at lights and just enjoy downtown. And I didn't want to do it at all. Like I was like, it's freezing outside. I don't want to walk around out there. But I did. And at the end of she was like, babe, I'm so glad we did it. And thank you so very much for just walking around. And that meant the world. And to me, I was like, I didn't even think it was that big of a deal, but it meant the world to her. And I think that sometimes you got to just, I don't know who said it, but take it on the chin and just be like, you know what? I understand that these things are important for my wife, and I got to do those things in order for me to be able to keep them together. Because if I don't, then somebody's going to start looking out the front door, and we're going to be seeing your husband in a pair of pajamas walking through the club looking for you on a Saturday.
Ooh, you don't, want that. Crazy, deranged.
Yeah, we don't need that drama. So, D'Amica and your husband, thank you so very much for listening. We hope that helps. You are more than welcome to hit us back with any more feedback that, we may have.
This relationship advice is not sanctioned by any relationship people. So if y'all get a divorce as a result,
don't come. Go after Lamont, because he's the only one who can afford the $95, bottle of wine, the $400 pair of shoes, and the $46 lobster that has to come to the house. Can't go nothing else. Has to come to the house.
Whoa, that's $46 a pound, Playboy.
Oh, $46 a pound.
A pound.
A pound.
What you doing, Lamont, over there? 3-pound lobsters?
I would be honest with you. I'm not really a lobster guy unless you put it in my macaroni. So you probably need like a half a pound for that. You know what I mean? That'll give you like a good serving because I like a nice amount of lobster in my macaroni.
Okay. All right. Let's real quick. Let's get to care or don't care. George H.W. Bush goes to the next life at 94. Lamont, you care or don't care?
So I want to ask a question before I give an answer. So George Herbert Walker Bush, he used to be the head of the CIA, right?
Head of the CIA.
So was this around the time we had like Pablo Escobar and Noriega and putting crack in the black community? It was kind of all around the same time? And I might be off by a few years. Maybe.
They shook hands.
They shook hands. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I mean, I do care, but I always like to preface it, by saying, he did some not so good things for the African American community during his term as president and both as the head of the CIA. Real bad stuff.
Maynard?
Oh, that was Lamont. That was your whole answer.
That's it. That's all I got. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't even ready. I was sitting here just trying to sitting in. I mean, yeah, I care. He was president. And you're right, Lamont. In one respect, I'm talking about a higher meaning on it. His family was decidedly going to run the country. Like, being the head of the CIA is a big deal, right? Then being vice president and then president, having a son be governor of Texas and another son be governor of Florida. One son, Neil Bush, ran the savings and loans bailout debacle in the 80s when all the savings and loans failed. They were said on Meet the Press the other day that they probably are America's most politically connected family, followed by the Kennedys. Like, two people last name Bush being president, and then a bunch of governors, et cetera. They put their mark on it. If there was a Republican in the past, in my lifetime, that was likable, he would be the only one that was president. He would be the only one. And for that, I'm sorry for his family for losing him, but he did live a long life of 94 years. And in some ways, that's more than you can ask when most people are only guaranteed about 75 to 80 years. So he had lived a long life.
Right. So just so I want to make sure I get this right, he was a director from 76 to 77. And technically, the crack epidemic started around 79. Mm-hmm. So there's a possibility that some of the things that he was involved in while he was at the CIA kind of bled into what this country knew as the crack epidemic. Because the CIA, them boys, they nasty, man. They historically have done a lot of things. And I do remember reading this. He did not want to be the director of the CIA, because he thought that, at that time, that was not something that was very, prestigious. And like you just said, his family was based upon trying to go during a certain trajectory, and CIA wasn't it. But then once he got over there, I was like, oh, we can do this. Oh, we can do that. Oh, we can shape policy for generations to come. Okay, cool. Let's rock out. Let's do it.
And remember, like his father, Prescott, was a senator from Connecticut, right? And I'm just getting at the idea that, their family decided a long time ago they're going to run the country. And they did. He's a little bit of a big deal because he's...
For those that don't understand the crack epidemic, would you like to go into depth about that? Because some people don't really understand the politics in the crack epidemic.
When you say politics, what do you mean?
I mean, we're talking about a politician at that time, the head of the CIA, with the politics, you know, the presidential Reagan, Bush involvement of the crack epidemic.
First let me, you know, always put it. Yeah, this is going to be, you know, and I want to make sure I don't mess this up because, again, I'm not a journalist. But from my understanding, the initial reason for crack or cocaine or this new crack cocaine thing that came into this country, or this amount of cocaine that you could turn into crack, was all about funding an illegal war in another country. And just as we have been used in this country before as commerce, is that, you know, we allegedly were going to buy this particular product. When I say we, us, and I don't even know if it's about an African American thing. I think it's more of a economic class that we're going to target with this drug that can, you know, fund so many other different systems. Because once you buy this drug and you become addicted to this drug, then you also are able to, you know, feed the criminal justice system. You're able to feed the, you know, the medical system. You're actually able to feed the, which is a really big racket now in my, well, always been, but, you know, just the system of death. You know what I mean? Of putting people in the ground, of you know, burying people and going through that whole process. I mean, you know, we know now in order to really put somebody in the ground halfway decent, it's about 8 to 10 G. You know what I mean? And that's on the basic, you know, from beginning to end. So it's like when you start with bringing that drug into this country and you're able to get the resources, financial resources from that to fund this war in this other country, because like what Maynard said earlier, you know, America has a history on putting its thumbprint or fingerprint on other things all around the world. You feel what I'm saying? So we figure we can't get Spud or Maynard to give us, you know, $100 a week towards this war that we're trying to do overseas. So we're going to try to figure out how do we addict one of his family members, you know, to buy this drug, fund that, and then feed all of these other systems. I mean, in all actuality, if you think about it, it's actually quite genius, if you ask me.
Because wouldn't it be, I mean, and Manny, you can get in on this as well, because isn't it twofold? It's kind of like the Iran-Contra deal, as well as, you know. That's
what Lamont's really talking about.
Right, but that's separate from crack, right? Because now we're talking about cocaine versus crack, because crack kind of, you know, originated in the America part of it, and it kind of escalated more into what Lamont basically is talking about in the end part of Just Say No, Ronald Reagan, Batarams, you know, redlining, so forth and so on. Isn't it twofold?
Well, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think, Lamont's, one of Lamont's favorite shows is Snowfall, and they go over how what was called bait. At first, there was crack, but it just wasn't what we called. It was different from. Remember, Richard Pryor, before we started talking about crack, right? It was freebasing, which is not very different from what we know as crack. It's just that, you know, these guys were freebasing at home, and it was expensive and dangerous. And, you know, in the movies or the show Snowfall, they break down how, I guess it was the Brazilians, Lamont, was that it, or was it the Mexicans?
You mean that it introduced the actual
they were
creating the crack process,
right? To show that process of how to get the base. Anyhow, they showed the lead character how to, you know, basically make crack. Or they showed a guy in Oakland, supposedly, and the lead character learned from him on how to, you know, produce or synthesize crack out of cocaine. And you're right, Spud, the Iran-Contra war was going on, and there was a way to fund the Contras in their means to overthrow, you know, the government and you know, and that was going to wind up ultimately being favorable to American interests.
Right, because we're supplying them with guns, right?
We're supplying them with guns, but we had to pay for the guns, and we did that by supposedly by, being able to get crack onto the streets. Now, all of this is chronicled in, and I actually, in fact, reached out to Freeway Ricky Ross, and, this is his story. And, and there was a journalist who, with the San Diego Mercury newspaper, that did a great deal to investigate it, San Diego or San Jose, I can't recall, and investigated, and a lot came of it. And so there were people involved with it. And we do know that the government has been involved with these kinds of, things in the past. But then crack, I think the addiction of it was so intense that it literally obliterated large cities. I remember when crack started to enter like the Philly tri-state area, you just remember people's lives just changed. It seemed like immediately. And then once that kind of went through, you recognize that it came, and, fortunately it seemed like certain cities had the capacity to bounce back. Large cities had the capacity to bounce back a little bit from it because they had human resource organizations or human services organizations that could help people with addiction, that could do all these things. But smaller towns, small places, it seemed like when it hit those places, they were decimated and there was no coming back. But Lamont, you make a very good point that with crack came the kicking down the doors, came the arresting people, came fueling the prison, industrial complex. Like we had to have more prisoners in the prisons, and therefore more police, therefore more sheriff deputies, therefore more corrections officers, therefore more attorneys. And they put an army of those people against African Americans or black people here in America. So it's a lot involved. I don't know if I answered any questions.
No, I think that what you said was, articulate. And I think that, and I'm glad that, I wanted to make sure that, because there's some people who don't understand that. And it's kind of like the legendary Godfather line where, Kate basically said in part one, where, Michael Corleone was like, she said, politicians and, senators don't get people killed. And he's like, wait, who's being naive now?
Who's being naive now?
And I think that sometimes, people don't look at the bigger picture of the things that are happening. They just kind of, like we all do sometimes, look at what's on TV and we take that for fool's gold and we just run to the bank with that. And so I'm glad that, you both were able to kind of break that down in the importance, especially with George Bush's involvement in that. No disrespect to the Bush, to George H.W. or his family. Real quick, let me just kind of go through because we're a little bit over time. So Al Sharpton on his life story. Man, do you care or don't care? He's doing his life story. He got 513 or 531 G's to do his life story.
Somebody overpaid.
Come on, the Rev ain't supposed to get 513 G's for his life story?
He's supposed to get $10 million if he can sell it, but
You not here for the Al Sharpton story?
I respect the Rev, but everything I need to know about him, I already know. I'm good.
Lamont?
I just want to make sure that when we do the story that, that we make sure I don't want to say focus a lot, but that we do not leave out Tawana Brawley. You know what I mean? Because honestly, as a young lad, that was my introduction to Reverend Al Sharpton.
From a lot of people, that was.
You know what I mean? I didn't really, being from, the city of Detroit, in those days, it's funny because I remember writing a report on that particular story and how it kind of put a lot of bad juice on the Rev. You know what I mean? So, and for those who don't know, that was, I think she was around maybe 15 or 16 years old, young lady, Tawana Brawley. Allegedly she was raped and beaten and they wrote like KKK across her chest or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it all
tat scrawled on her body.
Yeah. And then it all turned out to not be what it was. You know what I mean? So,
the funny thing, I don't fault the Rev. I don't really hold that against him. you know, if he believed her and he was lied to by her, and you know, he was taking the cause that he found, and he probably should have done a better job of sweating it out. But if everything that she was saying rung true to him, then I really don't fault him for that. What I do think is the Rev has made quite a living off of being on the front lines in the civil rights game. And I appreciate that. We need people out here to do certain things. There have been times where I felt like he wasn't the right person, but he was still out in front. Not every time has he been the wrong person, and not every time has he been the right person. But I watched the Rev as a kid when I was, it was that Tawana Brawley story that kind of was the big thing. Before that, it was the Morton Downey Jr. show. Did you grow up seeing the Morton Downey Jr. show?
Of course. Okay. That's back when you could smoke a cigarette on
cigarettes
TV.
on TV. Right?
Yeah, of course.
Yo, not smoke. He would smoke cigarettes and he'd have a drink.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's America. True blue America.
And I wasn't a fan of some of what Morton Downey Jr. was doing, and all the craziness that was on that show. I mean, the Klan was on this show, the Aryan Nation, Sharpton, Roy Cohn. There was another guy, Corey Ennis. I just thought, like, wow, this is too much. And he was a key fixture. It seemed that he was in there all the time, and that, but he's done amazing things, and you got to take. Take the bad with the good. And so it is what it is. I'm not interested in reading this book or watching this movie.
Meek Mill, Champions. The big controversy over the weekend was Jay-Z's comments on, putting the air quotes, Kanye West, his attacks on Donald Trump. The sad part about it is that the song is from Meek Mill's album Champion. Is it Champions or Championship? Championships, which is a great album. Congratulations to Meek Mill, which is a great album. But the news outlets kept saying Jay-Z is Jay-Z's song, it's Jay-Z's song. It's not Jay-Z's song. It's Meek Mill's song, and Jay-Z is featured on the song. And the song is What's Free. So, Lamont, care or don't care?
Of course I care. Are you crazy?
Well, dang, why I gotta be crazy? I just asked a question.
Where do I start? I mean, I got so many places I need to go with this. I mean, am I over time? What kind of time
We're
I got?
all over time, but it's our podcast, as you would say.
You're out of order. You're out of order.
We're all out of order.
What do you mean we're out of order? I'm confused.
Go! Just answer the question.
Well, of course, we're having some technical difficulty now, but we're going to figure it out. Every time I'm trying to be great, the internet police are trying to make me not be great.
I hear you very loud and clear, so I don't know who's having technical difficulties.
No. It's me on my end. I got it together. I got it together.
All right.
So, no, I mean, first of all, don't worry about the news outlets. You know what I'm saying? Because this is all about the transformation that's happening for Meek, which is beautiful, which is wonderful, which is from that guy with the cornrows and not the rubber band and the Band-Aid up under his eye with the ashy lips to this guy who actually has something to say. But I also think, with this particular record, we cannot shed and show love to where they actually got the energy from the record, which is What's Beef from Biggie. Okay, so we got to throw that out there. But the conversation in this song from Jay, from Meek, and even Ricky Rose is like, it honestly solidified me now saying that Jay-Z is the greatest rapper of all time.
Wow. You changed that from Biggie?
Unequivocally, yes. And I'm going to tell you why.
Ooh.
Just like LeBron James. And on and off the court, there's no one else in the history of basketball that has even gotten the arena of where LeBron has. Right now with Sean Carter, and I wrote about this, so I just if you can indulge me as I read a few things that he said that just made me say, you know what?
Is this from your own personal writing? Is this
no? This is from Sir Sean Carter. We're gonna have to start calling him Sir.
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 when he says that I am 50% of Duce and it's debt free. Just that one line there, it just says so many things about ownership, understanding about debt to income ratios. I mean, it's just so complex of, being in the business of alcohol, but actually being an owner in a company. It's just retarded. The next line, I'm 100% of Ace of Spades worth half of a B. Okay, you let that breathe. He then says, Rock Nation, half of that's my piece. Say it again. Rock Nation, half of the company belongs to him. Then he says 100% of title to Bust It Up with my G's. Which means
bust it up means what? Split it up, white people. That's what bust it up.
I mean, and again, he's talking about, this is not all about me. This is all about empowering other people. This is about creating wealth for generations to come, not just in my family, but for the people that are around me. And this is killer. When he didn't even complete the word, when he says my spouse, he was getting ready to say his spouse. And then he says, come on, man. He's like, we don't even need to talk about my spouse and how amazing she is as a mother, as a performer, as a business person. Like, we don't even need to talk about my wife. You feel what I'm saying? Like, she's on a whole nother trajectory. And to see a black man, which we talk about all the time, uplift. And just so we're clear, I'm trying to get a promotion in the Beehive, so I'm kind of got to give this a little extra oomph. But
it's okay. We're indulging you. We're indulging.
Exactly.
Lamont, Spud, go ahead and run some music under that for me.
Please.
He needs a little.
Please.
Go ahead, do the dance, Lamont.
Yeah. So, and then he hits, a few other things, and he was like, and this is more of a personal music industry thing. He talks about we were praised in the billboards, but we were young. He's talking about how Billboard doesn't have as much weight as some people try to make it. He was talking about, I don't have 1 billion streams, but I do have $1 billion. And when he said that, I was like, some of these young people in the record game, they don't really understand what he's saying. And it just on so many different levels. I mean, it just almost made me cry, my dude. It's like, this was the ultimate of grown man talk of where we should all, and not just on a financial perspective, but just in a mindset of how we should all be moving.
Well, even to echo that, I mean, to going back to the, I cut you off because you talk about the young, man game part of it. In that lyric where he said, wear your chains. I was like, wow. It's like, go ahead. Y'all wear y'all chains, do y'all thing. This is what we doing over here. That to me was like, okay, this is grown men talk. And I agree with you. This is the way we should be moving. That was one of the, which I think the preliminary of this was 444. And I hope, and I'm sorry that so many people, the young people, were disrespecting the 444 comment in the story of OJ and, Family Feud and, they still, got the money phone and so forth and so on. And again, if that's your thing, that's your thing. But it's so small and it's so stupid, that this to me is grown man talk. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to just add that, wear your chains comment.
I mean, that was it. I mean, we can go through the whole thing of it's also just a good look for Meek because, the interviews that I'm seeing on Meek Mill, it's just like he's growing into Meek Mill, and it's almost like Jay was like, this is what we gonna do, Rose. Like, this your man, what I'm saying? He part of Rock Nation, but we gonna give him his juices, gonna put him on a whole different level because although all of the tracks that Meek does have it, of course everybody's gonna, home in on Jay, but it's like just the way that again, it's just this whole togetherness of black men that you can't do nothing but applaud that, my guy. It's just phenomenal, man.
All right,
It
Maynard,
made me cry.
I hear your moans.
Yeah, that's it.
Go ahead, Maynard.
I mean, I thought the track was hot. I ain't got no problem with that. I will say this. I need more Meek on this track. I mean, it's not simply because Jay is on the track. It's how much he's on the track and where he's positioned. We always assume that the strongest cat is going to run the last leg, right? But on your own album, you supposed to run the last leg. This is your joint, and I think that's part of what happened. Why Jay seemingly eclipses the idea that this is Meek's album or Meek's song, and then what he had to say what I think a lot of people miss is they feel like he's shooting at Ye, but he's saying, I'm not shooting at Ye. Y'all trying to get me in a scenario where there's a back and forth between me and Kanye, but that's not it. That's not what's happening. So, but a lot of people just heard him say Red Hat, knowing that he's talking about Kanye, and they misunderstood it, in my opinion.
No, you're right. They did misunderstand it. But that's what, the media wants. The media wants to, put them together. And I'm glad he came out with that tweet basically saying, no, this is not what it is. This is what it is. But I do, Eminem went last on Renegade, and that was on a Jay-Z album.
Yeah, and Eminem bodied it, and everybody knows that. And sure. I think Jay-Z bodied this, and it's hard to dispute it. I think Meek's verse is hot. Rick, I'm not a huge Ricky Rose fan, but it was hot. But Jay just took it to a whole different space, and it's not just that he had hot bars. Jay, and what I've always liked about Jay, and what he does is sometimes he influences the music, the beat. Sometimes the beat influences him. Sometimes he's not even discussing anything that goes on the beat at all. He's going to do something different, and it fits. And he did that here, and I think there's something musical about that I don't always understand. But when I hear it, I'm like, yo, that's kind of hot. And
so are you going along with Lamont now to saying that Jay-Z is the greatest rapper of all time?
I've said that before.
Oh, I did not hear you say that.
I've said that before. And at the same time, I've said that Rakim is the greatest of all time. It all depends on how I feel in any day. But I always put Jay in my top, my greatest rappers conversation always.
Okay. Real quick, Ice Cube, arrest the president. Anybody care or don't care?
God, no.
No?
God,
why
no.
y'all hating on Ice Cube?
We're not hating on Ice Cube. No, God, no. We're good.
Putin and Trump cancels his meeting with Putin. Maynard, you care or don't care? I already know Lamont doesn't care.
I don't care because I know it's a lie, but that's a whole other thing.
I want to get to one thing real quick.
Hold on. Let me ask this up. Did you see the handshake between my man Putin and my man BSM or SBM, whatever his name is?
It was like,
he dapped him up. He dapped him up like, yo, my dude. Right. Yo, the bone saw thing, that's a hot move. Yo, that bone saw, I got to use that. That's hot.
I saw this on MSNBC with Ali Velshi, and I wanted to kind of bring it up because I think we kind of vaguely talked about home ownership before, and the story was about how black neighborhoods and I don't want to really say black home ownership, but home ownership in black neighborhoods are basically undervalued by like $100 and something billion or billions of dollars. And so I was very curious to know, because I know we kind of vaguely talked about this before, home ownership in regards to Black America. And I know in the 40s, and Black America always wants a part of the American dream, which we should have. And home ownership is one of those things that is a part of the American dream. Is this something that is home ownership now? Is it something that's overrated? Or is this something that Black America should still strive for when it comes to wealth, accumulating, wealth, passing down wealth generation to generation? How do you guys view home ownership? Maynard, I'll start with you.
I mean, I think it's still very critical, and I think it's important. I think things are changing. The young are not going to be as interested in home ownership in the same numbers as people of our generation, and definitely people who are older than us. But I think that, so basically, there are a lot of contributing factors as to why Black neighborhoods are undervalued. And some of that is external pressures and some of that's internal, meaning, yes, there are some things externally that are keeping African American or Black communities from experiencing the kind of growth in value and growth in true life experience.
Such
that
as
other
what? I want to dive in because I want for people to get it. Like, of course, like redlining, insurance issues, the idea that Black people are policed versus being served by and serviced by police. And I'm going to start with just the external, because there are internal things. I know a bunch of people going to complain, but that investment in Black communities from organizations, like you can go in Detroit, for instance, or in certain other neighborhoods and say, I'm looking for a grocery store, and you can drive from some neighborhoods to other neighborhoods and not see a grocery store for miles. Right.
That's an issue. Or that grocery stores may close at 8, 9 o'clock or something like that. When in other communities, the grocery store will be open 24 hours a day. Or that in Black communities, often we find a lot of predatory lending institutions. And I'm not talking about necessarily on the mortgage side right now, that we have pawn shops that that can play a role in a predatory fashion at times, that we have cash, check cashing organizations that will charge you 10, 20, 30% of the value of your face value of your check just to give you your money.
In Detroit, there are party stores that's owned by the Chaldeans.
Right. And then I think there's some other things that we, because we've been discussing churches and Jesus and the God whole conversation a lot. I'm not trying to beat up on them right now. I'm just saying there's a city here in Virginia called Portsmouth, which is 115,000 people or so, or it's not a large city, but they have more churches in a certain space, a couple of square miles, than like any other city in this area, right? And it's one of the smaller cities, and churches don't pay taxes. And so when you have this influx of all these churches, you are not able to enjoy the payment that these churches should be making in taxes. That, let me not say that the churches should be making, that any other property owner would be making in taxes to build the community. So those are some things that are external. Internal things is we have to do a better job of taking care of our communities. We have to say, I'm going to cut my grass. We have to say, I'm going to put grass seed down. I'm not going to have just a lawn of weeds. I'm going to fix the window, or I'm going to paint my home. I'm going to tell the police that boy over there is the one who's selling dope and shooting at people, versus saying, well, it ain't my business. Well, it is your business, because all these simple things like making sure that junk cars don't sit on the street, making sure that your grass is cut, making sure that your homes are painted, making sure that you shoo crime away, are investments in your own property, and they make your property value go up. And that also it's a very cheap thing to look at your neighbor and say, hey, do you need help with your lawn? I will help you cut your lawn and and beautify your home as well, because it affects and benefits you as a homeowner on the cost of your property.
Lamont?
You really want my opinion?
Yes, I asked for it. Yes, because we're 24 minutes over. Let's go.
I mean, I'm just in a totally different space in Maynard, because I believe that home ownership is not for everyone, just like college is not for everyone. I believe that it was a dream that was sold, with this whole, apple pie and in the sky kind of thing that we have here. And, I think home ownership is different than land ownership because a lot of people who purchase homes believe that they're purchasing the land, but that's not actually the case. So it's like, there's just so many different levels and layers of people not being educated about what it really takes to be a homeowner. And I think we need more education in that space. And some people should just be paying that rent at $425 a month and keep it moving.
Is that how much rent is?
Well, certain parts of the country, yeah.
The only thing is that lending is enslavement.
In the wise words of the Bible, the borrower is slave to the lender.
And I think if there's no way at the end to own what you have, then you will find yourself constantly enslaved. I do agree, Lamont, that there are lots of people out here who don't know what it takes to be a homeowner. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't become homeowners. That means they have to learn in the process. I mean, everybody's bought their first home and said, "Oh, I had no idea I had to do that." Or I didn't. And, young couples often find themselves saying, "The air conditioner's not working." In the past, I would just call the landlord. He would come and fix it. Now I have to fix it. And that's a learning curve. And we recognize that. But I think one of the challenges is so much of our value, so much of our financial wherewithal are tied into our homes. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the resources of the Black community, particularly our parents and our grandparents, is tied, that's where their money is. And unfortunately, we've not taken care of, in many instances, the communities in which we live to protect our parents' investment and our grandparents' investment, and something that we can pass on to our children. You can pay that $425 or $1425 a month in rent, and you have nothing to pass on to your child. And, that's what scares me, that if I were renting instead of owning a home or two homes or whatever, the property, that I could find myself looking at my daughter in, 15 or 20 years, and she would say, "I have no idea what I'm inheriting. I'm inheriting an opportunity to live in some rent-controlled apartment." That's not logical.
Yeah, and that again, that sounds good in theory, but when and let's just use some simple numbers. If you buy a home for 100 G's, and of course, we all don't have a crystal ball on how things could operate, but we all know what happened in the housing crisis of 08 and 10, right? So who's to say that what you are alleged, I should say alleged, that's the wrong term, that this home or this property that you have is going to be something that you can leave, for your child. And for leaving something to your child, I'm hoping, and not you per se, but, it seems like we always just in our community focus on the home. There's so many other things that we can do in order to diversify our situation to have something to leave to a child other than this home that, somebody worked 25, 30, 40 years, of paying this debt, this mortgage. And we all know what the real definition of what a mortgage is, correct?
Yeah, you've said it in the past, but
yes.
We're still wrong.
I'm sorry?
We're wrong with that. And I would say it like this. First of all, the housing crisis was not a crisis. It was a crisis for people who wanted to try to flip their home or use their home as some kind of quick ATM machine. It was a crisis for people who are on Wall Street trying to move mortgage securities from one company to the next, only to find out. But if you decided that you bought your home and you could pay your mortgage and you paid your mortgage and they told you one day, you say, I like this house. I got 3 bedrooms. I got 2 kids, so I got a bedroom for everybody. And And I live in a decent enough neighborhood. I'm fine with that. And somebody said, this $300,000 house that you bought is only worth $150,000 and you're only in year 8 of paying for it. Well, you got a 30-year loan. You made a 30-year bet. Just ride the bet. Because if you went and, for that same argument, someone would say, well, you bought Coca-Cola. Well, Coca-Cola's down today. The stock price is down. Are you going to say, well, this is a crisis? Or are you going to say, stock markets go up and they go down, and if you just ride the wave, ultimately it will be back up. And so at the end of 30 years, even if you don't have an amazing house, if something should happen, you have this place where your kids can say, you know what, Mom, I went out here and tried to start a business. Dad, I tried to start a business and I failed. I don't have nowhere to stay. And you say, you know what, your twin bed is still upstairs. Your mother's making jalapeno poppers. And enjoy yourself some of this dinner, and then we'll sit down and watch All in the Family.
All right, we out. Thank you guys so very much for listening to this episode of 3 Black Guys with the Mic. We'll do it again next Tuesday. Make sure that you email us. We'd love to talk to you via this conversation. If you have a response or if you have a question about anything, we would love to get involved with that conversation, if that made sense. Sir at 3blackguyswiththemic.com is our email address. That's SIR@3blackguyswiththemic. Or you can get into the conversation on our Facebook page at facebook.com/3blackguyswiththemic. Make sure you share this episode with a couple of people. Let them know that we are here. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud. That's how we get more listeners. The more you subscribe and the more you share, the more people listen to us. So please do us that favor. We'll do it again next Tuesday. Thank you guys. Have a fantastic week.
100.